I'm kind of a person that gets bored doing the same thing over and over. And even though I helped put a man on the moon, and I was on the flying crew of the 747 just before I came down here, and I worked on space projects and aircraft, and in the end it all gets to be the same thing. The job is the same whether you're going to the moon or you're building a 747.
Northwest of Nelson lies Takaka in Golden Bay. Its greenness seemed like Shangri-La to Stanley E. Ray, an engineer with Boeing, when he arrived from the United States in search of a new life on the land. The Lazy 8 Ranch was established on 200 acres, which in 1969 put Stanley out of pocket by $23,000. Engineer, inventor, woodturner, potter and poet, Stanley turned farmer and set out to raise beef until the market slumped.
It became kind of obvious to me I was foolish to keep working hard and making $2,000 or $3,000 a year. So I sold off my herd and bought shares in things that rip off farmers, because if you can rip off a farmer, you got it made. So I invested some of my money there, and then I revitalized the milk shed, and a share milker took up the position on it, and the share milker has made me about twice as much money every year than the very best of the years when I raised beef. And he does all the work, takes all the risk, and is happy as a clam doing it.
The wind streaming down this mountain valley leaves 50 acres of land frost-free, making subtropical fruits a possibility. The share milking arrangement left Stanley with time on his hands, so Tamarillos became the name of the game.
See, I'm 60 years old, and I no longer spring over skyscrapers in a single bound or go faster than a bullet when I go any place. And I like to see the results of my efforts while I'm here on Earth and not in heaven. And Tamarillos are a rapidly maturing crop. Now this tree here, it's got Tamarillos on it. It isn't spectacular. It's a slightly under average tree. But this tree is now 2 years old and has produced its first crop. And so if I put in kiwi fruit, I'd be 65, I think, before that there'd be any money, and I'd have to do a lot of work in the time. And in addition to this, I intend to plant avocados in among the Tamarillos, and as the Tamarillos reach their superannual age, the avocado will replace them and they can retire to the earth.
A superannuitant himself, you can't imagine Stanley ever retiring, especially when there's more seedlings to plant out. Originally from Peru, Tamarillos reached New Zealand about 80 years ahead of Stanley. The climate must suit them. Stanley says you can almost see them growing, rather like Stanley's ideas. The farm's a wonderful outlet for an engineer's creative inventions.
This is a reel for electric fence divider, and I had it when I ran beef cattle. I used to block feed. I sent this idea into the farm magazine, and as a good idea, and I think I got $35, which I spent very wisely. All right, well, I'll have my son just run this down, and you can see it unfold as you go along. This is Tom. All set? Get him, Tom. Dog. Well, this is a device to mark out the hole locations. I spaced the Tamarillos in line 1 1/4 meters apart, and those two wheels just happen to be the right size that when they make one full revolution, they make 1 1/4 meters. And so I put this old putty can between them and put on a spout which I have a perforated lid, and every time I make a revolution, it dumps a little of this hydrated lime out, and that's where I drill the hole, hopefully. When I take off like I'm in a drag race. Isn't science marvelous?
As Stanley so rightly drawls, it beats digging 'em by hand, and there's thousands of holes to be dug. Another son, Tim, has come home to help with the planting. Stanley isn't exaggerating when he says the soil's free draining because of the rocks.
These plants are about 9 months old. I planted them from seed, and they're planted in dirt because you can see the amount of rocks I have in the soil, that sometimes if they weren't planted in dirt, there wouldn't be enough dirt to cover the root.
So how do the roots cope with the rocks, Stanley?
Well, they like the rocks because the rocks sort of aerate the soil, and it gives the roots something to grip on. And one problem that Tamarillos growers have in good, rich, sandy loam soil, or whatever they have in a silty soil, is that they're very shallow rooted, and a good strong wind will blow them over. But I've never had a single tree blown over, and my shoulder belt's not up yet to protect them. Plant this other one here. This is my specially designed hoe with a short handle, and that is a result of running over it yesterday and busting it off. But it's kind of handy to work with, isn't it? Now it's my little cane to help myself up, just so they don't hop out of the hole. That's it.
The Tamarillo ripens from May to November, so harvesting's a leisurely affair lasting right through winter. That's the province of Stanley's wife, Mary. Being wed to Stanley meant she started married life the wife of an engineer in the States, and now finds herself the wife of a farmer on the other side of the world. It wasn't all easy, but Stanley, Mary and their 6 children have thrived on the Lazy 8. Behind every successful engineer turned farmer is an understanding wife. Stanley describes himself as a bit of a recluse. Perhaps that's why he brought Mary and the children from what he calls the best biggest country in the world to the best smallest country in the world. At the moment, Mary packages the Tamarillos in bags and takes some to Takaka to sell and sends the rest by road to Nelson. In the future they hope to send the fruit all round the South Island, having the advantage of not paying the cost of freight from the North Island, like most other Tamarillo growers. Stanley believes that by itself the Tamarillo is like a single pure note, but when it's mixed with something, it's like a chord. So he published his own recipe book.
In the end, I say it's not the end, but the beginning of Tamarillo delights. And
Let's
I
have a
think
look
the
at
world will someday discover Tamarillo and it'll dwarf the popularity of kiwi fruit. I shouldn't have said that. Well,
Let's have a look at one of your delights.
I've picked 4 Tamarillos. Now I use 4 Tamarillos per 2 liters of mix. And that's not a requirement. I just cut the stems off. I leave the skins on because there's a lot of nice taste in the skin. Like the apples that they make, and the apple juice and sell, they have taken off the skin and taken out the essence of the apple.
So it will give a better colour too, would it?
Yes, I think so. It's you might say it's more Tamarillo-y made with the skins on. You, of course, don't get the drink, but they're filtered out anyway. Chopping them up first. Anything you don't want your drink with the seeds in it. But this is one way of doing it.
Add 2 packets of powdered orange drink for a superb Tamarillo nectar. Engineer, farmer, philosopher, publisher and poet, Stanley E. Ray can now add the title chef to his list of credentials. Amazing colour, isn't it?
Yes, it's a little thick because it's aerated. As it sets, the air bubbles work themselves out, and it's a much prettier color than that. But you can try that.
Have a go. Cheers. That's lovely, Stanley. Oh, do you drink a lot of this yourself?
Every morning. That's why I look so young. I didn't mean to put that in, but in the summer I drink a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. You're a bit of a philosopher about age, aren't you?
Yes, because now I'm no longer a spring chicken, and I don't think I'm going to live forever, so I become more aware of it. And when I went to see Golden Pond, I could identify with Henry Fonda. But I wrote a poem. I'll give you the last couple lines.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, biceps have their limit, but not the psyche of man. If the latter grows, you can say, though gray, I'm a better man than yesterday. And I think that's true. If you continue to grow and you're a better man in your psyche, your system, that's more important than the muscles. And you can have that attitude, especially as you get older.